Throughout the entire history of One Piece, very few characters have ever been referred to as deities. These are godlike beings whose mere existence elevates them above others. The Celestial Dragons are one of the most prominent examples, while both Enel and Doflamingo were regarded by themselves and others as the gods of their respective territories. Even within the Straw Hat crew, Luffy himself possesses a devil fruit that enables him to assume the form of the sun god Nika. However, in this video we will be discussing a very different god, one whose title was bestowed upon him by a devoted legion of followers in recognition of his incredible strength and divine appearance. Yes, this video is going to be dedicated to the backstory of God Usopp. Usopp had made his debut within chapter 23 titled Captain Usopp Enters. This was released way back on the 12th of January 1998, and ever since then Usopp's character has grown and developed with every single story arc, garnering more and more fans along the way. In recent times, Usopp has become a formidable warrior in his own right, employing his divine sharpshooting skills and quick thinking in order to aid his crewmates in any confrontation that they may encounter. Usopp provides the comedic relief within the group as he provides the audience and his fellow crewmates with hilarious gags and one-liners. But he's not just a one-dimensional character, he also serves as the strategist of the crew, utilizing his intelligence and creativity in order to devise plans and to solve problems. This ultimately helps his crewmates out of dangerous situations that they often encounter. Usopp acts as one of the voices of reason within the Straw Hat crew, frequently questioning Luffy's impulsive decisions and being known to think ahead for the safety of everybody. Despite being one of the physically weaker members of the Straw Hats, he has proven himself time and time again that his unique set of skills makes him an essential part of the crew. However, the brave warrior of the sea that Usopp currently sees himself as is a far cry from what he had started off as way back in Syrup Village. The growth of his character exemplifies how even the weakest amongst us can develop into heroes in their own right, but for the journey to take place one must start at the very beginning, which is what I'll be exploring today. Yes, in this video I'm going to be delving into the past and backstory of God Usopp, discussing his humble beginnings as a mischievous child with a reputation for lying, all the way up to his decision to solidify his resolve and embark on a life-changing adventure as a pirate alongside his captain Monkey D Luffy. This of course is a continuation of my video series where I delve into the past and backstories of some of your favorite One Piece characters, including the Straw Hats, Supernovas, the Warlords, and even the Yonkos. In order to begin Usopp's story, we must first look even further back in time, approximately 2 years after the Pirate King Goldie Roger was famously executed in Logtown. At this time, former cabin boy and future Yonko Red-Haired Shanks had appeared on Gecko Island in the East Blue. He had been searching for a man named Usopp. After eventually finding him, Shanks had proposed that Usopp join his crew, which at this point was only in its infancy. Usopp had initially refused, but Shanks was persistent, and just over a year later, following the birth of his son, Usopp, at his wife's insistence, had left home in order to pursue his dream of becoming a pirate. His son Usopp would grow under the care of his mother Banshina in Syrup Village, within the Gecko Islands. While still young, his mother would fall seriously ill, often being left bedridden for extended periods of time. In an effort to lift his mother's spirits, Usopp would lie that pirates were coming to the island, and he would create a sense of false hope, both within himself and her, hoping that Usopp would be returning to see them. He promised his mother that Usopp had said that he would take them out to sea with him as soon as her condition had improved. His mother was able to see through Usopp's lies, however, saying that while she had never regretted marrying him, she had known that Usopp wouldn't be coming back home. Usopp's lies had continued, telling his mother about a legendary medicine that could cure any illness, and it was just on the other side of the sea, but his efforts of lifting his mother's spirit were in vain. Banshina, knowing her illness would soon take her, had told her son that it was only a dream, to which Usopp had responded, "Of course I have dreams, I'm the son of a pirate." Not too long after this, his mother had passed away. Usopp was now orphaned, and he had continued on with his lies, yelling throughout the town every morning that pirates were coming, hoping that someday his words would be true and his father would indeed return for him. But unfortunately he never did. His lies were so consistent that the villagers had started to use his cries of pirates arriving as an alarm clock, signaling that it was time to start work and to begin the day. Some would even chase after Usopp armed with weapons and yelling threats at him, but for the most part the villagers had gotten used to his antics, with some of them expressing worry and concern if he was ever late with his morning yelling. Approximately 5 years before the start of the One Piece timeline, Usopp had encountered 3 young children from Syrup Village called Ningen, Tamanegi, and Piman. They were aware of Usopp because of his notorious reputation, and for the most part they had believed most of his lies. Usopp had proclaimed himself himself to be a pirate to the boys and had declared them to be members of his crew, which he had named the Usopp Pirates. Together they had gone on adventures across the island, fighting off a Cerberus, which was in fact just a regular dog, a dragon, which was a normal sized lizard, and they were stealing apples from aliens, which was just the local stall owner. Aside from Usopp regularly lying that pirates were going to attack and his adventures with his crew, he had also spent time with a local young girl called Kaya, making up stories to entertain her while she was confined to a room due to a sickness. While Usopp's loss of his family was a tragedy that had plagued his early childhood, his life was mostly uneventful until he had turned around 17 years old, and this had marked the start of the One Piece series that we know. The Straw Hat Pirates at this point in the timeline had consisted of Luffy, Zoro, and Nami. They had stopped by at Syrup Village in order to search for a ship following Nami's reveal that the tiny vessel that they were currently using would be unable to make it to the Grand Line. Tamanegi had run through the forest to warn Usopp about the approaching pirates, who immediately had tried to run away in fear. However, when he had learned that it was only a small vessel with 3 pirates, his fearless nature had emerged, and he had left to intercept them. Usopp had stood before the Straw Hat crew, declaring himself as the head of a huge pirate fleet and the leader of the village, with over 80 million followers at his command. Naturally, Nami had immediately called him out on his lie, which had shocked Usopp. The Straw Hats had then proceeded to the village unhindered by Usopp's efforts, and this is where they had quickly befriended Usopp. He had told the Straw Hats that the only place on the island that would have a ship was the large mansion, and the owner of the mansion was the young girl called Kaya, whom Usopp had befriended. Kaya had lost her parents a year ago because of sickness, which had left her as the owner of the mansion and its fortune, despite her own ill health. Usopp and the Straw Hats soon found themselves in a confrontation with Kalahador, Kaya's head butler at the mansion, who had insulted Usopp for being the son of a pirate. Enraged by this, Usopp had attacked the butler before leaving for the coast in order to spend some time alone. Luffy had followed him and had revealed that he had recognized Usopp due to his similarities to his father, whom Luffy had known well from the year that he had spent with Red-Head Shanks and his crew on Dawn Island. However, it was at this point that Luffy and Usopp had recognized the butler, who was revealed to be a vicious pirate known as Kuro. He was speaking with his accomplice, the hypnotist Django, and it was about their plan to assassinate Kaya and to have Kuro inherit her fortune. Now, this plan had been in the works for the past 3 years, with Kuro posing as Kaya's caretaker and building up his reputation within the village so there would be no suspicion if she were to die in an accident and incidentally leave everything in her possession to Kalahador. Django had managed to hypnotize Luffy here, causing him to fall down to the beach below. While both Kuro and Django had assumed that this had killed Luffy, his rubber body had actually saved him. Kuro then allowed Usopp to flee, knowing that even with the knowledge of their plan, no one would believe Usopp. And this had proved to be true, with Usopp trying to warn the villagers of Kuro's incoming attack, but none of them had believed him, assuming that it was another one of his lies. He had literally become the boy who cried wolf. Usopp's attempts to warn Kaya and save her from her fate were also ineffective, with Kaya mistakenly believing that Usopp was trying to kidnap her. Realizing that he couldn't convince anyone, he had decided to lie to his crew about the approaching pirates in an effort to protect the young boys from harm. The only others on the island aware of Kuro's plot were the Straw Hat Pirates, whom Luffy had informed once he had awoken from his hypnosis-induced slumber. The crew had decided to help Usopp and to save Kaya, which they initially did by setting up traps in anticipation of the attacking crew's arrival. However, the group had miscalculated. They had set up an oil trap that was leading up to the island from the shore where they had overheard Kuro and Django speaking. Unfortunately, the Black Cat Pirates instead had landed on the northern side of the island. Nami had realized that their own ship was docked there and her treasure was at risk, and she had immediately headed for the other shore. This had led to Zoro falling into their own trap and becoming stuck on the shore. Usopp had followed Nami, intending to hold off the attacking crew before they could reach the village, and Luffy, while being the fastest amongst them, had gotten lost on the way there and had ended up in the village. Usopp and Nami had tried their best to hold off the crew, first through deception, then through traps, and finally by directly fighting them off, but they were quickly overpowered. However, before they could be killed, both Luffy and Zoro arrived onto the battlefield and had started fighting the crew in their place. Realizing that they were up against strong opponents, Django had hypnotized his crew by brainwashing them into a berserker mode, which had made them ignorant of their own wounds and had also resulted at them fighting at full strength. Unfortunately for him, Luffy was also under this hypnosis, which had resulted in him beating the crew. Django was forced to hypnotize Luffy to fall asleep in order to stop his rampage. This had led to him dropping the bow of the Black Cat ship, which he had managed to rip off with his hands onto the unsuspecting crew. This commotion alerted the ship's guards, the Nyaban brothers Buchi and Sham. Sham ended up attacking attacking Zoro, stealing 2 of his swords at the start of the fight. Before the brothers had started to fight together utilizing a range of team attacks. Zoro had refused to let Usopp and Nami get involved in the fight, worried about what would happen if the brothers had turned their attention towards them. Nami in response tried to retrieve Zoro's swords, but was struck down by Django. Before the fight could continue, Kuro himself arrives onto the battlefield, and he's annoyed at his crew's delay in carrying out his plan by not attacking the village at dawn as they had agreed. Kuro was disgusted to see his former crew unable to defeat a group of children, and after he demonstrates that he is capable of instantly killing the Nyaban brothers if he had wished, he gives his crew an ultimatum, telling them to defeat their opponents within the next 5 minutes or else he's going to kill everyone. Nami had taken advantage of the distraction caused by Kuro's arrival in order to successfully steal back Zoro's swords, and to wake up Luffy in the ensuing chaos. At this point, Kaya had arrived, having discovered Kuro's treachery from one of her wounded servants. While she had offered all the money in her possession for Kuro to leave without any more violence, he had refused, saying that he wants to keep his peace of mind by ensuring the death of Kaya, so that there would be nobody there to report him after he makes off with her fortune. He goes on to remind Kaya of all of the help and friendship that he had offered to her over the past 3 years, stating that it had meant nothing for him, and that he had spent the entire time waiting for the moment that he could kill her and to take her fortune. Usopp had tried to attack Kuro in order to defend Kaya, but he was completely outmatched. He was only saved by an attack from Luffy, which had managed to knock Kuro down. Kuro was then attacked by the 3 young boys from Usopp's crew who had just arrived, but he had simply brushed off their attack. He had ordered his crew to take Kaya and to flee into the forest, where they were pursued by Django. Usopp attempts to chase after them, but his body was unable to move due to the damage that he had taken. Despite this and the fact that Kuro had told him he was no match for Django, Usopp had declared that he didn't care if he would end up losing, because he intends on protecting Kaya and his crew no matter what. Zoro had become motivated after seeing Usopp's resolve, and he had defeated the Nyaban brothers and had carried Usopp with him into the forest after Kaya. Luffy had then taken on Kuro in order to prevent him from following the group. He had scolded him for his desire to distance himself from his previously infamous name. Before Zoro and Usopp could catch up, however, Django had found Kaya and the boys. Despite initially being tricked by them, he had soon defeated them. Yet Kaya had resisted his hypnosis by refusing to open her eyes. She only relented when Django had begun attacking the children, at which point she had promised to write a will leaving everything to Kuro as long as they let the boys go unharmed. Django had accepted the terms, but before he could kill Kaya and have her will come into effect, Usopp and Zoro finally arrived. Despite the great distance between them, Usopp had used his sniper skills to dispatch Django and to save the group, after Zoro had cut apart a section of the forest in order to give him a clearer shot. Now during this time, Luffy had defeated Kuro, making his 3-year plan and the island's invasion by the Black Cat pirates a complete failure. Despite their success in saving Syrup Village, Usopp had decided not to reveal the thwarted pirate attack to the villagers, as he was worried that it would be too upsetting for them. He had ordered everyone to keep it a secret, to which Kaya and his crew had agreed to. Feeling newfound confidence following the event, Usopp had disbanded his pirate crew, wishing the boys the best in achieving their own dreams, as he declares that he is going to set out to sea and to begin his own pirate journey. However, before he could depart on his new adventure, Luffy had invited him to join the Straw Hat crew, to which Usopp had happily accepted. Now with a new crew member and a new ship called the Going Merry, which was provided by Kaya as a thanks for their help, the Straw Hat pirates leave Syrup Village in order to continue their voyage towards the Grand Line. Usopp's character journey is one of the most compelling and heartwarming within One Piece. From his humble beginnings as a lying, cowardly young boy to his current status as a brave warrior of the sea, Usopp has grown and developed in ways that never fail to impress and inspire his fans. So whether if you're a long-time fan of One Piece or just getting into the series, I hope that this video has given you a deeper appreciation for the man known as God Usopp. I hope you've enjoyed this coverage of Usopp's backstory, and let me know in the comments where this ranks for you among all of the backstories within One Piece. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so that you stay up to date with all of my upcoming One Piece videos. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next One Piece video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.